You know, when we get mailbags, we always kind of try to find a theme, but we kind of don't have one today. We went rando today.
Yeah, because we really
I'm going to call that Chaos Podcast.
Sounds like the inner working of my mind. What is that feeling? Because I feel like he's carrying it around with him. This feeling of I'm not lovable. I am unwanted. I can't picture a scenario where that isn't oozing off of him.
Don't listen to that negative talk. Remember who you are and be that person in this life. I'm not suggesting that's easy. I'm not suggesting that's not a process, but start listening to yourself.
The only way to have self-esteem and confidence is to be brave enough to live a life that feels like you.
Yeah.
Wear what you want to wear. Get into the stuff that you want to get into.
This podcast represents the opinions of our hosts and guests. The content here should not be taken as medical advice and is for informational purposes only. This podcast also does not establish a standard of care, doctor-patient, or client relationship. No guarantee is given regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on the podcast or website. And because each person is so unique, all listeners are encouraged to connect with counseling and medical professionals for assistance with their personal journey. All people, places, and scenarios mentioned in the podcast have been changed to protect the privacy of those involved.
Welcome to We're Not Fine. I'm Dr. Talia Jackson.
And I'm Doug Jensen. We thank you for listening every week to our deep and thought-provoking conversations about relationships.
Hey, everybody, welcome back.
Hi, friends.
To another episode of
We're Not Fine.
But
we could be, and maybe we will be, and we're better together. And Jimmy Goat is always with us in spirit.
Can you see his horn mark still after
mascot?
A few years? You know, by the way, we don't talk enough about this, but the whole reason why this podcast is called what it is number one, people are struggling. But number two, I hate the word fine. It is so nondescript. And so I'm looking for always something more. But you know what's funny?
Yes.
So we have a whole team, by the way. We have a whole team that comes here every week with us. Josh, John, and Jeff are here today. Sometimes Supak and Jamie are here. Rob is sometimes here. But let me tell you, so we were having a little bit lunch between our episode recordings. And Josh and Jeff, my tattoo artist, who, by the way, I referenced on a previous episode, who was listening to all the kind comments, so I've taken them all back. I'm kidding, I don't.
He was listening right outside the door.
He was, and he was going to jump in.
And he was going to jump in and say,
"Shut the fuck up, Doug."
That's right. And
like
then
he told me many times during the actual tattoo. However, the funny thing about this is that Jeff has always said to me, my buddy Jeff, who's our AV guy, one of our AV guys, has always said, "Doug, you're making too much of this. This is so easy." So we just had them do the mailbags that we're preparing for today.
It was so
and both
hilarious.
of them, Jeff and Josh, were very uncomfortable.
But I thought they did great.
I thought they did great too, but both of them said afterwards, "That's really hard."
Well, because I've always had this fantasy, and we've had tiny little iterations of this in the past, but I love the idea of Doug and I, like the licensed professionals, tackling the mailbags from like a more clinical point of view with our 20-30 years of experience.
Don't age me that far. 29,
30 years.
It's 29.
Yeah, and I think I'm at 19 years of experience. Anyway, but that we would also have like every man or like the peanut gallery, every person like people off the street.
People who need people.
That are giving their input on whatever the issue is. I thought it would be so much fun and so funny. I remember I was thinking the Hot Dads Club, that we would just like have a couple of my friends hop on and give their thoughts from different perspectives. You're the hottest dad of all.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh.
I am hot too, aren't I?
You are. Oh, it's not as stubbly as I thought. It's because there's not a lot of regrowth. Where were we? Sorry, I was just drawn in to that. Where's HR?
Everyone wants to touch my
quick
head.
But today we do have a couple of fabulous mailbags. We love the mailbags.
We do love the mailbags. And you know, I just drew on myself.
Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. Did you draw some chest hair on?
So let's equal it up.
No, thank you.
No?
So anyway, he's always in my ear, this guy.
Okay, so I love that they both, by the way, and I hope our editor, Alex, finds a way to put some of that fun stuff in. So I thought it was funny. These people, literally, my buddy Jeff consistently says, you're making too much of this, Doug. It's totally easy to do live events with audience. You're just, because I said to one of our future guests that I thought it is an experience. Like to have a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful audience that we've had a few times, and we're going to have more and more and more.
I thought you were going to say beautiful, beautiful, wonderful co-host.
Beautiful.
And I was like,
no, that's gorgeous. I don't use beautiful for you. It's gorgeous.
Go on.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of enjoying the fact that they were a little uncomfortable, and I was eating peanut butter behind the camera, I have to admit. I was excited to hear what they had to say. And sometimes I wonder if people would really feel like, oh my God, that's so refreshing to hear other people's points of view. What I thought was great is that Josh answered before the question was even read. I'm like, yeah, you need some work on this podcast. But now they're talking about doing their own out there. They should take the show on I do love these people so much. They are my dearest of friends. One of his pieces of advice is, shut the fuck up. Yeah, he says that to me quite a bit. Get on with your life. I don't know when we became close enough that he feels he can talk to me that way. Yeah. Well, he was talking to our mailbag writer. Harsh. He's got some work. Rob also says things like, Rob told us we were stop. Like, why is he doing that? Tell him to stop doing that. Just FYI, guys, not everyone can be a therapist. No. Okay, somebody's... Fuck up, Doug. Oh, here we go. Okay, come here, Josh. Josh. We need more of a head. Can you lean in and say this? Oh, shut the fuck up, Doug. There's my tattoo. He's our new co-host. Doug is leaving. Josh is coming in. We really liked what he had to say. Back to our podcast. Mailbag numero uno. You know, when we get mailbags, we always kind of try to find a theme, but we kind of don't have one today. We went rando today. Yeah, because we really I'm going to call that Chaos Podcast. Sounds like the inner working of my mind. For sure. Doug, give it to us. I oftentimes feel like my co-host is chaotic. I'm sorry that you feel that way. It sounds like a you problem. Oh, you're supposed to say, I'm sorry. We're going to model this. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that you feel that way. Sometimes I am finding myself meaner and meaner. And I would like to say, I think you are bringing that out in me. So if anybody's interested in being my new co-host, go to we'renotfine.com, submit your application and your resume. I would be glad to consider alternative options. You'll never find anyone that loves you the way I love you. That's really pretty. Okay, we're going to get to today's mailbag, guys.
Hey everybody, welcome to We're Not Fine Mailbag Show. This is Josh, I'm Jeff, and we're taking over the program today to go through a few of the questions that you guys have emailed in. And today's mailbag one is, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. What do you think about that, Josh?
Well, I never know what I'm doing wrong.
I know. I have never dated or had a girlfriend. I feel like I have tried all there is, and there's nothing else I can do.
Well, maybe he's trying too hard. Do what you normally do, and you'll find someone that comes with you and does the same thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's always somebody for everybody. You know, I went through a relationship that had ended, and I kind of was looking for another relationship. It didn't come to fruition. And so I started finding things that made me happy and doing those and not worrying about finding a girl. As time went on, she found me. And I was just doing things that I enjoyed, and it turns out that we enjoyed a lot of the same things. What do you think about that, Josh?
I think that's absolutely correct, Jeffrey.
So what would your advice be to this young man of 28 years old?
Well, just shut the fuck up and get on with his life.
There you go. Just get on with it, have fun, find things that make you happy, and the rest will work itself out.
No.
That was good.
Oh, by the way,
wanna ask
we
you more
are not
questions.
professionals in any way, shape, or form.
I knew it.
That's okay.
I literally was like, I can't wait.
totally flew in unprepared like Doug always does.
Well, but look, it's not as easy as you think it is. I know. I'm gonna read this one because I'm kind of fascinated with this. I have so much to say to this person, and it made me very sad to read this.
Oh.
But I am the biggest cheerleader, so I got this. This person said, it's a male who's 28. I have never dated or had a girlfriend. I've never even had a girl like me or have a crush on me ever. About 2 years ago, I decided to do something about it and started bettering myself. I got in exceptional good shape. I fixed my haircut. I started grooming myself a lot more, dressing better, etc. It does make me wonder what the hell haircut he had, but we'll go with it.
That's where you go with this?
Yeah. It's the only thing I heard so far.
It's not the
Nothing
haircut.
changed, sadly. I'm still as unattractive as ever. And that is just simply, I got to tell you, not true. But we'll get there.
But we don't know that.
We do know that.
We don't know
We do know that because attractive is totally in the eyes of the beholder. I can't even.
We have
so much
more to say.
about it. It's soul crushing because I
Yes.
always thought I was doing so bad because I wasn't even trying. But now that I feel like I've tried it all, there's nothing else I can do. Not true. When I started this transformation, what I started hearing from women a lot was that I was a great catch, just not their type. Blah, blah, blah. The first few times I took it as a huge compliment, but as time passed, it turns out I'm nobody's type. Again, could not be less true. I'll get there. It sucks because all my friends have relationships. And when we all hang out, it's because I'm always the one single person out there. Every day I pray. I can't talk. I'm so distracted. I want to get into the dialogue about
I know. I have so much to say.
Every time I pray, no one makes a joke or a comment about that because I wouldn't be able to take it and laugh it off. I'd probably just break down and cry in front of everyone. I don't know. I'm probably just rambling at this point.
Probably.
That might be something to change. The word is probably. I'm kidding. Just rambling at this point, but I just feel so depressed about it sometimes. I'm not so confident because I'm the very rare situation.
Very rare.
Of having lived my whole life without experiencing what it is to be wanted. I think I can fake it to a degree, but at some point I'm going to need some external validation to feel confident.
How was that for you and your lips?
Oh my God.
Was that hard? Do we need to do some work with marbles?
What about marbles?
Wasn't it My Fair Lady where she was learning to enunciate by having marbles?
No, I don't need marbles. I here's what it was happening. I don't have ADHD, I don't believe, but
you have peanut butter tongue.
Do you smell my breath? My buddy Jeff brought me peanut butter from Wisconsin. It's really good. I'm a peanut butter fan. It's really delicious. Anyway, I have so much to say, but I'm going to let you go first because this was painful. And I even changed confident in my head to compliment because honestly, well, even as he's writing this, he's got something going on that's really, really great. So go at it. It's your turn.
This is the kind of situation where I feel like I'm going to say a bunch of things that are true and possibly paradoxical, or I'm going to say opposing things that are true. It's like one of those situations because for somebody who feels like they don't know what it feels like to be wanted, I wonder if that started in childhood. What is that? What is that feeling? Because I feel like he's carrying it around with him. This feeling of I'm not lovable. I am unwanted. I can't picture a scenario where that isn't oozing off of him, even if he has gotten himself in amazing shape and the new hair and the new style. And it sounds like you have friends that love you, and that is a sign of being wanted and being loved. If you feel like you could show up as yourself and people love you and you start to feel that feeling of belonging, I don't know. I know it's so much easier said than done, but if there's any possible way for you to see all of the evidence in your life of being loved and accepted and being wanted, even if it isn't by women, people of the opposite sex that you're attracted to. And I know that that can be devastating, but if you're only focusing on what you don't have, then what happens to this frequency or vibration that you're putting out there into the world it's not an attractive frequency. So this is what I was going to say when you were like, of course you're attractive. I think that attractiveness has less to do with the hair, the look, the, workouts, the clothes, and it has more to do with how comfortable you are in your skin. And of course, easier said than done, right? Like, be confident, fake it till you make it, do your thing, and find people that love you for who you are. But if you are paralyzed in this feeling that who you are is unattractive, that's where everything falls apart. And so my advice for this situation, take it or leave it, is, are you like looking through the screen? I'm distracted by how Doug looks like he's on another planet right now.
I do. I'm so consumed by this mailbag.
But are you listening to every word? Because I don't feel like you're listening to every word that's coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything, but I'm going to talk soon. So.
Oh my God. Can you see? I'm looking for a new co-host. We actually adore each other and talk every day. But what
it's
I was
about trust. I trust that you're saying really smart things.
Oh God, I feel like
I'm obsessed with this
fire. What I'm.
This girl is on fire.
Is that what was going on in your head when you were looking off into the great beyond?
Yeah, Alicia Keys is.
She is so hot and so brilliant. Back to our friend, our 28-year-old friend. Easier said than done. I do understand. But what is attractive about a human is if they have an interesting life and they are interested and find their joy and their passion, and they know who they are. They're involved in communities or activities that bring them joy. You can just tell when someone feels like they have a full, interesting life. And then sadly, you can also tell when someone's looking for their other half of a whole. And that might be the piece that people are sniffing out. What do you think?
I think so many things. I was really in my head.
I know.
Because I want to meet this person and I want to talk to him and I want to go to lunch with him or dinner and I want to go out with him. I want to go dancing. I don't know. I just.
To observe or
no,
to give
not to observe,
talks?
to like do a fucking pep talk. We got to find life again in this person.
Right.
I want to comment on like so many things that you said, Talia, because I was listening to some of it, but not a lot of it.
He listened to it.
I zoned out at some point, but I think you didn't even spit out your water. This is what I think about this. By the way, and one thing that Talia said that is true is that the inside has to be worked on. Like you have to feel like you cannot give to somebody else what you don't have yourself. And so this internal love, this love of yourself, feeling complete, feeling like your life is where you want it to be, is going to be a very attractive feature. Confidence is an aphrodisiac. And so you are correct that the inside is where the real work is here. I'm not going to be stupid about this, though. We all know that we have our types. I'm not everybody's type. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I don't have any hair on my head. I have a goatee. I have tattoos. I'm about to get my second sleeve finished in the next.
You're a look. You're a vibe. You're a type.
I am a type, as are you.
I'm a type. I'm like the Jewish
Your nose
librarian.
is a type for me.
Yeah.
Any dude out there who has a hook nose.
Doug is attracted to Mediterranean, like the Israeli, the Greek, Latino, the Italian.
Yeah, I've dated a bunch of those.
He loves a good schnoz.
I got to tell you, I think if someone showed up with a normal nose, I would not
like the
go
Roman.
on a second dose. It is a Roman nose.
Yeah.
That's totally what it is. So anyway, but everyone knows my type. All my friends know my type. So here's the thing. You can also find me on we'renotfine.com if you're interested in dating me.
So we have applications for a new co-host
for each of us.
For each of us.
Yep.
And we have like dating. Who wants to date Doug?
Oh, that would be a fun summer.
Maybe Supak and Alex can get that on there. You could click here.
So backing up a little bit, I'm really just wanting to call call you on all the negative self-talk. Do not engage in that bullshit. No matter what somebody has said to you, no matter what somebody has done to you, we have all had rejection. We are not everybody's type. You're not everybody's type. You are somebody's type, though, for sure. 100%. So I want to say, what I encourage you to do, and I don't think it's bad for you to be in good shape or have a nice haircut.
Yeah, it can't hurt, certainly.
And, start grooming. I don't even know what this means. Dressing better, but yeah. I hope you're dressing for yourself. Like, I think we all have style too. Like, we all have ways that we want to present in the world. I know how I want to look. I know what clothes I want to wear. Is
that what you meant to wear? Is that how you?
No, I pulled it out of my. I have a We're Not Fine luggage that I carry to the podcast studio every time we record, and I never know what I'm going to wear. And then I looked at you today, and I'm like, I want to match something like your shirt, so I'm going with this. But I want to go back to this guy. So, dude, I want to tell you something. Do not doubt yourself. Remember who you are. Take a look at what your strengths are. Take a look at all your accomplishments, but really fucking listen to yourself and get in touch with what it is that you believe you want your life to be and start living that way.
Which is
regardless of what anyone thinks. Go ahead.
And that is that's the part right there, because I feel like, friend, if you are in this situation in your head where you're thinking, what do other people want me to be? And you're trying so hard to show up as that, then no one will ever know if they're your type. And you won't maybe like the people that are then attracted to you because that isn't.
You also said something really important just now. I want to normalize your experience too. There's a lot of people who have come to us as clients who are struggling with their identity. They don't feel good about themselves. They've had a ton of losses. They might have been rejected by a fiancé or divorced from their, spouse. They might have lost their business during the pandemic. A lot of people struggle with self-esteem. I'm not talking very well today.
No, are you?
It's the peanut butter that Jeff gave me. It was a sabotage.
There was sort of like some hiccuping.
I know. I gobbled a little peanut butter.
Do you have some indigestion?
I don't really have that, though. I kind of want more peanut butter. Why is there a screwdriver sitting on our table?
I saw that.
Anyway, and not the vodka type. But this is what I want to say, guys. This is the important piece. Do not continue that negative self-talk. I do think positive affirmations are important. I'm not a Stuart Smalley guy, but I do think people like you. I got to tell you, I totally want to meet you based on this.
But okay, so question for you.
Yeah, please.
The affirmations, because I do feel like this is where I think both of us are saying, believe in yourself. You sound awesome. Have some confidence. People are attracted to confidence. But what happens if this gentleman feels like he's not getting any external affirmation,
well, then I'm giving
validation,
him some today.
But you haven't seen him or met him. It's worthless.
I will tell you, just in writing this, what? If somebody wrote this to me, if they contacted me on my website to try to be a patient of mine, which unfortunately I'm not taking new patients, if they wanted to be a patient of mine and I got this information, I would be salivating. Because this is exactly the type of person. There's several types of people. I shouldn't say there's one type. I want to work with you, man. I would love to help you kind of figure out, because even writing this is a strength because you have insight. You are able to communicate.
Yes.
I can feel strength just coming from this very situation. And for someone who decides, I don't necessarily, by the way, you're talking to somebody who 20 years ago, I have fake teeth. These are porcelain veneers. Thank you to my dentist. I grew a goatee. I shaved my head. I got LASIK surgery. I started working out. I got sleeve tattoo. I'm at one and a quarter now. I changed what I was.
Yeah,
I changed how I looked.
Rebranded.
I did.
Doug Jensen.
I walked out to the waiting room to see a client I hadn't seen in a while, and he's like, "I'm here for Doug." And then I just stood there, and he said, "What the fuck happened to you?" Self-esteem happened to me. I found myself. I was not being myself before. The only parts of my life that I loved, first and foremost, was being a dad. I would not trade any of that for the world. I have the two most amazing children. I would not trade that. And I love my professional life. I'm so grateful for all of it. And I'm really grateful for this podcast and you and anything that comes of this. So
I love that you just brought that up. It is so important. And because I only met you after this transformation.
Oh, really?
But for this lovely young man, what was it like for you to live your life?
Oh, yeah.
Feeling like I'm not me and I don't have that confidence, but really wanting to be validated externally.
So I just want to also say that, and I will share a little bit about this, which I've shared on the podcast before. I just did a workshop with my amazing, beautiful friend, Kelly Grosslugs, around grief. And I talked about what it was to grow up in my household. I grew up in rural Minnesota as a gay boy on a farm. I didn't necessarily fit the gay stereotype. There was some abuse in my household. My mother had some mental health issues, which means my dad did too. But it's interesting to me because what I needed to do, Talia, is get in touch with where those messages were coming from that told me I needed to be a certain way, or I needed to do a certain thing, or I needed to behave a certain way in this life to get where I needed to be. And that was false. That is a false message that you are sending yourself. And what happened for me is that I got to a place where, and it was one day in particular, and I don't need to go in the details because it's quite horrific, because my mother was in an abusive situation. She was being abused. She was abusing a second husband in a really malicious way. And I remember just waking up that day and realizing I don't want to be a caretaker anymore. And I realized I was doing that, and I was neglecting myself since I was a very, very young child. And then I started kind of rebirthing, I'm going to call it, like refining myself. I went to therapy. I had an amazing therapist who regretfully is no longer with us on this planet. But he was so grateful. I cried and cried and grieved. And I needed to let go of this false image of who I was supposed to be, which I wonder about this person and what that experience might look like for him. Like, how is it that you have lived your life? What were the messages you had about you growing up? Because when you talk about, like, you think you're going to need some external validation to feel confident, we get that from our caregivers, we get that from our teachers, we get that from our coaches, we get those from everybody who is involved in us in our life.
But he's getting feedback that he's a good guy and a catch, but he's not getting any feedback from women.
I got to tell you, this is where also I want to work with him, because I do think sometimes, like, I can give feedback. You know, one of the things in our software that does our electronic notes is like role play and interaction, and like, are you using those interventions? I would love to see what this guy had and give him some interactive feedback on what he's putting out there and like, where we want to change that.
To be a fly on the wall and to watch how he is interpersonally, because there's no way that this guy feels free to be that's him out loud, to be like a loud and confident version of who he is, really lean in to the best of your personality. Because I feel like if somebody is feeling insecure, undesirable, unlovable, they're like tender footing, one foot in front of the other, like walking on eggshells, not fully ready to be themselves because they're so terrified that version of them no one will like. And I mean, I've had clients say people like me until they get to know me. And that just like breaks my heart, and I don't believe it, but I'm feeling that same energy from this young man.
Yeah.
Of like being afraid to be who you are. If you are who you are and someone doesn't like you, good riddance. They're not your person. Our goal in life is to be celebrated. All of our warts and all, our quirkiness, the weird parts of our personality. Like, yes, Doug and I tease each other all the time, but it's such a place of love. We adore each other, and all these things that I tease him about, I actually love, right? It's like the warts and all that you will be loved. Even not being a perfect person, it becomes an endearing part of your character.
And I really want to validate something here. Again, you're not alone. There's a lot of people who feel this way. Not everyone gets these positive interactions, and we all need some. Yeah. Like if people didn't respond to us in a positive way, we wouldn't continue to do this podcast. But we've gotten amazing feedback. We have amazing viewers and listeners. We have gotten so many nice comments about our dynamic and what we're talking about, and how it's therapy for some people on a weekly basis, which of course it doesn't take the place. But if this helps, of course, we're willing to accept that. So there's a part of this that we all need some positive affirmation. So don't feel like you don't. But that has to come from within too. Like if I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh God. Like this morning I woke up before this episode and I looked in the mirror and I'm like, oh, you better shave your head. Because I started getting a little stubble, and I don't like that look on me. I like the clean look, which that's why I don't have stubble, by the way, this morning.
That's too bad.
Why?
I'd love to see some stubble growing.
Nope, you would not.
That's cute.
Nope, this is my brand and this is my look. So what I would say about this, and even getting another sleeve tattoo.
Yeah.
from the guy who interrupted us before, who is just one of the best people on the fucking planet.
Yes, he's really great.
So
We're just always reinventing, but we want you. I guess the only way to have self-esteem and confidence is to be brave enough to live a life that feels like you, wear what you want to wear, get into the stuff that you want to get into. And I really hope we're going to be able to incorporate some of the sweet banter and messages that Jeff and Josh were talking about, because I do feel like
I love that they were overzealous and overconfident about their ability to do a podcast.
I love it.
Can I also say one more? I just have so much to say to this guy. I really want to talk with him. I would love to actually have a conversation with him in this room. Have you sit right here on this table.
On this really comfortable coffee table.
I will say too that it's really easy to get in your head. Like, I think any of us, like, seriously, there are times that I'll be like sitting at home and I'll be like consumed by how much mail I haven't gone through, or like financial pressure, or getting my taxes ready or something. And I'll be like, oh my God, I'm just, not being able to go in the hot tub for 2 weeks because my tattoo is fresh.
I don't think you're going to survive.
That's, yeah.
Because you are like a sea creature. You're going to shrivel up and
like my new
die.
tattoo is.
That's right.
It's a sea serpent and Poseidopus. So what I would say is, really, you have some work to do. And the best thing that, honestly, if I were to make a recommendation, I hope you're seeing a therapist. But if you're not, a therapist is a great person to kind of give all of this information to. You're going to wear out your friends with this kind of Dougie Downer thing that you got going on, and you don't have to feel that way. It's not how you have to live your life.
Dougie Downer, I like it.
Right?
I like it.
But there's a part that's like, I would love to be your therapist. I can't, but I would love to be your therapist so that we could actually have a conversation about this. I could see what you're putting out there. I've helped people even with their ads on the dating websites, and they're not putting their best foot forward. They're not highlighting what their strengths are. And there's times that I'll give people feedback like, and by the way, again, the way that you talk is a strength. Like, but you are not focused on the right things. And going back to a word you use, free, it's one of my favorite words when it comes to it. Like, I became free whenever I went through these physical transformations. I became who I am, who I was supposed to be. And I really wish everyone to have that sort of like awakening and epiphany. Like, I'm not living my life the way I'm supposed to.
But your physical transformations were like intentionally and in alignment with who you are.
I also left a relationship, and I regret that I hurt people in this process of finding myself, but I needed to be truthful, and I needed to find people that I was more connected to on that physical and emotional level, in a way that would fit for my life. If I were to find that person with the hook nose and Roman nose and dark hair. And
I'm literally right here. Look no further.
Oh, I'm fully aware of that. Hey.
I want to talk about the difference between this young man's desire to get feedback that he's attractive and desirable. And I think that if it's a reframe for you on, instead of seeking out that reassurance that you're attractive and desirable, because you don't start with that. You start with valuing yourself and honoring yourself and being someone you'd want to date, right? So it's like you've got to be the first one to give yourself the feedback of like, I find myself really interesting. Like, I really, personally, I love being in my own head. I find myself delightful and hilarious, but I want you to feel that as well. I want you to spend some time in your own head thinking about like, what do you love to do? Get into, like, be brave enough to get into some things where you're going to meet some people that are into what you're into. Music, volunteer,
music, do something that's meaningful for you. Get out there if you really do lack the social piece of this. But I approached some hockey friends on that, and they said it was for old people, which it is not. I challenged them to a pickleball match.
Have you ever played?
No, but I want to.
Same.
Let's do it.
Badly.
Let's take on another podcast.
Or we could do a live
Challenges
podcast while we're playing pickleball. I've really always wanted to do that. So, do we have anything more to say to this lovely young man?
What I want to say is, please don't give up, and please know that you're not alone, and please know that this is honestly simpler than you're making it. I appreciate that you did those external things. I did them as well. I like who I am now. On the outside, I like how I look. I like, I can't change some things. I'm going to always be certain things, but I get to make some things different. So I think the outside is okay to do a little bit of work on, because it's okay to feel good about yourself as you walk down the street. But the inside work is what really needs to happen. And I really, again, going back to like who you are, just be your honest self. Listen to what that is. And I'm worried that in some ways you don't have people who accept you for who you are.
Yeah.
Because if I were your friend, I would absolutely boost you up. I've got friends who sometimes get down on themselves, or they're really hard on themselves about something. And I am the first to call bullshit, give them a hug and say, I love you so much.
That's right.
And that is a momentary feeling you're having, and it will go away.
One thing that could be really powerful for you, I used to work at this community mental health clinic, and we used to do a lot of psychodynamic group therapy. And it is pretty fascinating. Like if you're having a hard time connecting with other people, your peers, just having a hard time connecting to people that you want to be connecting to, there are interpersonal group therapy sessions where you can grow and learn with the same handful of people. I know they have them in a lot, like they had at the Ham Clinic in St. Paul. They do these really amazing group therapy sessions. I'm not going to look at you because I feel like you're thinking thoughts that I'm very distracted by. But if you want to get some real feedback from peers that are not paid to do anything other than show up for you and give you feedback, you guys, I'm really need a new co-host. Do you see what I have to deal with right now? It could be incredibly powerful, because if you're worried that you have some blind spots about how you are interpersonally, that's what you're wanting to hear. If you're feeling insecure and everyone's just giving you feedback, you're great. Every lid has its pot. You'll be fine. There's someone for everyone. And you have this internal sense of like brokenness or there's something wrong. It just might be really helpful to get some actual real feedback from people. Therapy is also where you can do that. Individual therapy.
I really think it's very important.
But group therapy can also be fascinating. You've done men's groups.
I've done men's groups. I've done, obviously, individual therapy. I do a lot of relationship stuff. But I really want to say, like, the reason therapy feels really important to me is, number one, you can say to the right therapist and seek out the right person, make sure that person feels comfortable for you, non-judgmental, not shaming, really helpful. I'm a very, as are you, an interactive person. I give a lot of feedback. I'm not quiet in my sessions.
Yeah, we're very dynamic.
Yeah, I really prefer to be, people pay a lot of money for therapy, and it's important to give feedback. So as everybody who sees me knows and probably will write on YouTube as a result of this episode, I am somebody who talks a ton because it's really important. You want feedback.
Yeah.
And so it's important. Like if you came into my office and you told me this, I want a full family of origin childhood experience. Do we need to resolve anything that happened to you growing up? Were you bullied? Were you teased? Were you whatever it might be about your appearance or how you grew up? And I think for a lot of us, and myself included, I hid parts of myself growing up. I did not have a lot of money growing up. I didn't feel comfortable with that in my small town, which was very much about the beautiful red swoop Nikes that I couldn't afford. I was, I was gay, and I was hiding that as well. I absolutely love my ex-wife, but I am gay, or mostly gay is how I'm phrasing it now.
Right. So, mostly gay.
Yeah, mostly gay. We're not going to go. Yeah, I'm not full on.
And I'm mostly straight. Mostly.
Oh. Here's what
HR.
Here's what I want to say about that. Because I think a therapist, and really, I think this is where I think it's very common to doubt yourself, but you're so in your head right now, and getting feedback from someone in the moment is going to be really important to challenge some of that irrational thinking.
And another beautiful thing about therapy with the right person is exactly what Doug is saying. Like, we use ourselves as an instrument.
Yeah.
Like if we're feeling a certain way interpersonally with you, we can say like, you know what? I wonder if sometimes the way that you interact, I mean, it could be like the most subtle things that you might not even know about. Like maybe you're not making good eye contact, or maybe if you're feeling socially anxious or really kind of self-conscious, maybe you're looking down, or you're looking unfriendly, looking unapproachable. Maybe you have a grimace instead of a soft smile. Maybe you are only talking about yourself. You're not asking any questions, or maybe you don't know how to respond to people quickly because you're so in your own head. It could be anything. And we want you to explore it with love and compassion for yourself.
This look that you're seeing on me, it just happened again.
I know.
I'm getting very lost in this because I really want to just promise you, it doesn't have to be like this. There's no question to me. This is a very systemic societal issue, low self-esteem. And so there are lots and lots of books on it. There's nothing wrong with reading those self-help books as well. You can Google Amazon or anywhere else, not to plug any particular place. My buddy works at Half Price Books as well in the areas of the United States. Anyway.
Wow, that was so specific. He's going to be really upset.
Anyway, so what I think about this is it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm in my mode, I'm in my therapist mode of like really wanting to help you out.
I know.
You don't have to feel this way. And it is not, I'm going to be honest with you. And I'm just going to say this, like you talked about, like, we don't know if he's attractive or not. I don't give a fuck what you look like.
No, and
there is no question to me that you are.
We're not talking about the looks.
Yeah,
attractiveness is like are you comfortable in your own skin? Can you like revel in yourself? Can you make fun of yourself in a sweet way, like not take yourself so seriously? Can you find humor in your life and other people? Do you feel good about who you are and what you've accomplished? That is attractive.
And I think one of the things I think my buddy Josh said, you're trying too hard. I think that was one of his comments.
I liked it.
I think that might be true as well. Like you're trying to persuade people to like you, or you're trying to like do exactly the right thing or behave a certain way.
That's right.
We do that in junior high. We do that in high school. We do that when we're kind of figuring out who we are. We try out different ways of being, right? And honestly, when I put myself out there now, I am fortunate to have people who are interested in hearing me or being with me or dating me or other stuff that I won't get too graphic about.
Oh my.
But the reality is when you put out that energy, I mean, I'm an older guy with no hair, but I still attract people because I do have confidence. And I say that with some humility because it took a long time to get there for me as well. Maybe that's where I'm getting lost in this. I just figured it out. I've been there. Like I hid who I was. I wasn't myself. And then I grew into this, and watch out now.
Watch out, world.
And I do mean that. I will never again be something for somebody else. Ever again.
And we want that for you.
I want that for you, and I wish that for you, and it's possible. That's what it is. That's why I'm getting lost in this.
Yeah, because this was you.
It was me. It's a lot of people. It's anybody who feels like they need to fit a certain mold, which of course, growing up gay when I did, that was absolutely the deal.
Yeah.
And I did well, and I have really great friends, and I have a really great life.
The one piece that gets tricky, and I don't know if this is other people's experience, but I feel like, and maybe it's just because I'm attuned and I'm, empathic because of what we do. I sort of can read between the lines in a different way, but I can always tell what people are desperate to hear. The feedback that they're like setting me up as a therapist or a friend or as anything, the way that they describe themselves, what they're starving for, like that unmet need, the unmet validation. Like you can watch when people are out there in the world, like, they just want to be told that they're good. They just want to be told they're enough. They just want to be told that they're desirable or they're attractive. They just want to be told that whatever it is. And so I do want to make sure that it isn't coming off as I just need people to tell me this one thing. I want it to feel like you already know you're amazing. And
you also need someone to challenge you. You need someone to challenge this negativity and this distortion in your thinking, because I promise you that's the case.
That you're just in your head.
You are in your head. You are self-doubting. Mm-hmm. That's not about other people. And you're not going to find it on the outside. Again, validation from other people is always helpful. But think about all the people on the planet, like no matter who's president, they get attacks all the time. I've gotten a negative comment on YouTube about someone who was troubled by some of my behavior, which I think was really about you.
Wait,
do you not remember this?
Me?
No, I'm not going to remind you. I'll tell you later. Evidently it got taken off by our editor. I think Alex took it off, or maybe YouTube did. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Are you canceled?
No.
He's canceled.
No, there are conservative people who might not like what I say about human equality or myself, or might not think I should have sex with multiple people as a single person.
Well, then they're not the perfect audience member.
They're also not
us.
the people I listen to for this particular person who wrote in. Don't listen to that negative talk. Remember who you are and be that person in this life. I'm not suggesting that's easy. I'm not suggesting that's not a process, but start listening to yourself. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes when I have people who are struggling to be authentic and struggling to be confident, I tell them to write down between weekly appointments, every single time they say or do something that's not honest or authentic to who they are. And I love that assignment because inevitably the first time people come back, they're like, I could not even keep track anymore. Because I'm always accommodating other people. And I will tell you, like within our workplace, for example, or if we're on a sports team, or if we're, somewhere public, there are things we should and should not do probably. I've also gotten in trouble for being a big loudmouth.
You?
While I was with my buddy Josh.
So I've never done that. I really love that a lot. What I might have people do when they feel like they don't really know who they are. I think I might.
Yeah.
When they don't really know who they are, or they can't see themselves accurately, and they have low self-esteem, and they are really needing external validation. What I will say is poll your 5 closest people that you love the way they see you. What do they love about you? How do they see you? How would they describe you? What are your strengths? What are you working on? Because sometimes we are the last to know we don't see ourselves accurately. And that can be the beginning of when you're thinking about what's my character, what's a state, and what's a trait, like what's my mood and what's my wiring, what's my character. You can poll the people that really love you. And that's the first step to figuring out like, oh, this is who I am as a person. Doug, let's move on to mailbag number 2. Are you ready? Oh, he's still on another planet.
I was trying to figure out if I could look like I was frozen while you weren't. That would be kind of interesting.
Okay.
All right. I'm having a hard time moving on from that one.
Too bad. You can do hard things.
I kind of want this person, if you're listening, hopefully you are, to write in again. Keep us posted on your transitions and keep us posted on your process and what you're finding as you kind of put yourself out into the world more authentically. All right, I'll move on.
I mean, I would love to know a follow-up too. We love the mailbags, and my God, would it be a gift to have the follow-up. Right?
I know it would. So mailbag number 2. Oh, you're reading this one.
That's right. Hi, I'm Talia. I'm your co-host.
Are you? For how long?
Nice to meet you.
I hope. Why do you have a clock behind you?
Oh my God, I forgot about that. Well, because for the first episode that we just recorded,
I found this on her chair.
It was right there. Oh my God, there's our other clock that doesn't click. I'm losing all the clocks.
Okay.
This was clicking. And so what I did, as any normal person in a podcast would do, is I took the clock and then I sat on it.
Yeah, I noticed that. Huh. While it's ticking.
While it was ticking.
I'm not even going to comment. But
could have been a grenade.
So I have not read the second one. I'm interested. Tell me. I like being surprised.
Boo. No, he didn't like that. That must have been not what he meant.
This looks like the sea serpent on my new tattoo.
You have less pizzazz. Oh yeah, that's familiar.
Isn't it?
Okay, mailbag number 2.
Maybe.
Was I being unreasonable? Thank you for not answering.
The answer
that.
is yes.
Oh, God,
is this actually the question, or are you asking me?
Oh my God.
More personally.
My fiancé, my ex's mother. No, I'm starting that over. My fiancé's ex and mother of his 2 boys.
I got you.
Okay.
Oh.
This
is the current
fiancé's ex.
So the current girlfriend.
Who is the mother of his 2 boys, recently lost her job. Yes.
Got you.
She's the fiancé.
I got this. The new fiancé.
Okay. So the ex lost her job, to which my fiancé responded by saying that he was going to need to help her out financially in the meantime. Interesting, right? This is
not interesting. Got this one. Go ahead.
I replied, why? You're doing your part financially. Probably she's meaning like child support. Let her husband help her out with her part. He then goes off on me saying how I'm not understanding. And if we were in her situation, she would be helping him.
Oh.
And what he does doesn't affect me, or it shouldn't affect me. I responded by saying how I will just mind my business from now on, especially since he once again reminded me that it's his money and not mine.
Ooh.
He replied with, "You know what? You've been acting like a spoiled brat and I don't appreciate it."
Yikes. Okay.
We have had so many conversations about how I don't need or want anything for any birthdays or holidays, and he still goes out of his way to get me something. I was a very independent person before I met him. And yes, now I rely on him to pay our rent because I do work less, so we don't have to find a daycare for our daughter. I still help with utilities and I pay for some of our groceries. And when we eat out, I think I've asked him to buy me maybe once, possibly twice, something that I did want. And I've told him multiple times how he's lucky that I'm not one of those girls that takes advantage and keeps asking for things. Yet I'm being a spoiled brat. Am I unreasonable when it comes to him wanting to help her more financially and be accused of being a spoiled brat? I had never dated anyone with kids before, and maybe I chewed off more than I can handle with this because I'm supposedly not being understanding.
Wow.
Doug.
God, I can't wait to go on this one.
I'll take that.
Why?
Because you stole my pen for the first time ever. Never mind. You're innocent. Everyone calm down. Call the police to tell them not to come after all.
I have so much to say about this. First of all, I want to take the word unreasonable out of this. I don't think that's the question. I think you and your fiance are not communicating well at all about so many things. I think before this relationship became something, I hope that he was somewhat clear about what his intention was with his boys and making sure they were cared for. The boys are the more important part of this than anybody else on this planet. I don't know their ages. I don't remember that being said in this particular mailbag. But I think it's commendable for any parent, male or female or non-binary, to be responsible for their kids and to make sure that those kids don't suffer. So getting rigid about those boundaries about money, and you're talking to somebody who has been divorced, is still best friends with their my ex-wife.
Yes.
We co-parent 2 kids together. We are doing it incredibly well. It has gotten easier and easier and easier, funny enough, as my kids have gotten into adulthood, to work on that together. We don't count money. We don't think about money. It's not about money. It's about making sure our kids have what they have. I have so many questions about like what the dynamics are with you and the ex person. You didn't identify wife, so I don't know if they were married, if they weren't married, so I'm just going to say ex-partner, the mother of the 2 boys. Like, what is your relationship? What is his relationship? Do you trust that it is resolved? Do you trust that they are supportive to each other in a real, authentic way? Because one of the things I'm hating is that both of you are being passive aggressive and even aggressive in your language to one another. Mm-hmm. This don't buy me anything, etc. I don't buy that for a second. I think what you need to do is take a deep breath. I'm not telling you that you're wrong to feel what you do. You feel what you feel, but he's not listening to you. And so you have to articulate in a very clear, I feel statement as directly as you can. I feel frustrated at how you talk about money. I feel frustrated that we're not making this decision together because we have a child as well. There's so many different things that you can let him know, and that my hope is that he can equally respond to. Like, he should be saying to you, I wish for him to be able to say to you, I understand your concerns. I'm so concerned that my 2 boys are not getting what they need, or they might feel the stress of financial pressure, having, their mother lose their job. That's not something that the kids need to take care of or take on. So I would say you 2 have to figure out a workable strategy so that neither one of you get hurt, and that this issue does not come between the 2 of you. So this is not about being unreasonable. It's about not being heard and not having validation for your concerns or your feelings or your frustrations. This should be a transparent situation. You said something really interesting, that your finances are separate, which is okay. Like, that's one way to manage finances in a relationship. I don't think that matters as much as, are the 2 of you in agreement that that's the way to move forward? His money's his money, your money's your money. I also heard that you are working less because you are parenting your child that you share together. Then that's not a fair equation unless you are making $1 million on YouTube, working part-time.
Why aren't we doing that?
I don't know. That's really where I went with that. But that's the thing. Like, you 2 have to talk about how money works. And I don't know how you feel about this at the end of the day. One of the things that your fiance said to you is that if we were in the same situation, she would help us out. That actually gave me a lot of heart feeling. Like, is this a relationship they kind of both agreed together not to make their lives worse?
Yeah.
What is custody? What is the legal arrangement right now? Is he paying, child support, etc.? I also have a buddy who would do anything for his ex-wives as well as his kids. And he would make sure they're safe and secure and okay. And he seeks for them to have financial future in the future, financial security in the future. And I think there's something very generous about that. I wish the same for my children. And it's not about counting who's doing what, or is my ex contributing this, or is she not? It's really about making sure those kids don't suffer as a result of any of this. So my bottom line here is that stop the passive aggressive comments, use some direct I feel statements, but really you two have a shitload to talk about. Yeah. Like, when I work with couples in particular, I always give this resentment homework. Like, what is unresolved in your relationship? What needs to be addressed? I want a full list of everything because we're going to tackle every single fucking one of them. And those are really hard lists to make, but this is on your list. And because of that, you're getting kind of pissy and you're going down that passive aggressive route. You don't want to do that because there's no question to me, given that you wrote in, that you wish for this to be different and that you wish to be an adult in this particular situation. So there's so many like assessment questions, like what are the relationships? What is the new, you said something about her new husband. Like, what is the discussion here? Ideally, I know this is kind of fantasy in my world, but it's worked for me. Like, have a discussion with everyone involved. Make sure all of you are discussing, like, what do we want to do to make sure these kids are all okay, including your daughter that you share with this guy. So I'm an idealist about this, but I really think at the end of the day, we should be communicating in that free way.
And I think there's like a new movement towards just like conscious uncoupling and co-parenting and people being kind. It doesn't have to be contentious. There can be a generosity of spirit. There can be village parenting and village family vibes.
I love that whole concept.
Mm-hmm. Me too. And I've seen it succeed. I mean, Doug, case in point.
Yep. I feel a case in point.
I love what you said. Truly, I was thinking along many of the same lines. And I do feel like, bottom line, it does start with the kids. And one thing that it might be challenging to understand because, you haven't dated people with kids, but you are a parent. And I feel like what's missing on both sides is the clear, direct communication about I feel, I need. But it's also, I think, because the two of you have taken this sort of attacking and defensive stance, what's lost is the empathy. Because I feel, and I know Doug does too, I was hearing the way he was talking, we feel a tremendous amount of empathy for both of your stories, both sides. And if you, friend that wrote in, were approaching him as there's nothing that would, there's no part of me that wants to get in between you and your boys and what you feel is right.
Yep.
I do not want to get in between you and your ex in the agreements that you've made in co-parenting. And I love that I'm with a human so generous that it even shows me that if something were to happen to our relationship, you're going to take care of me and you're going to take care of our kid together.
Yeah.
What a great character, right? Like,
I agree.
Start with this feeling of like, I love this person that, look at all these beautiful qualities. And this is the part that where you're honest about how you're feeling, but I feel a little bit panicky about the resources and I feel a little bit helpless because it doesn't feel like you're incorporating me into any of the decision making and I'm your fiancé. And I would really love for the two of us to talk about if you knew that I'm rooting for you and your boys and I don't want to be some like selfish, entitled person. I want what you want, but can we be really honest about our resources and what we need and what we have to give with love in our hearts? Because otherwise, if you completely exclude me, I'm going to start feeling really resentful and I'm going to start to be angry at her that she's getting what I'm not getting. And that you're angry with me for having any wants or needs. Okay, that's like one way of thinking about it, right? And then this guy, if he could take a moment and a deep breath and feel that like, oh, it seems like my fiancé is really an obstacle in my way to being a good person, a good father, being generous to my ex that I still have love for, whatever that is. And you start seeing her as an obstacle, that's a problem, right? Or like, this shouldn't affect you. This is my decision and it's my money. Like, that is not.
I didn't like that response at all. It felt reactive.
And it also felt like, get out of my decision making.
Yeah, which is not good. It's like, I use this metaphor with couples of a rope. You have to hang on to the rope. I don't care how far away from each other you need to get. I don't care how much distance you need. I don't care how angry you are at that person or reactive at the moment. Hold on to your end of the rope. You can even look the other way. But the reality is you got to hold on to the rope. And by doing that, the way that he put that, according to this message, is that he kind of dropped his rope and said, fuck you, right? Which is a not acceptable way to respond.
Like, if you don't like what I'm doing, fuck you. And that's not okay either.
It's not okay. That's not a couple.
So if you communicated coming from a place first of appreciating each other's concerns, right? People's defenses, they just disappear. If you go in saying, you're a wonderful person, I love your character, I see what you're saying, I see why you might be upset. Oh, their defenses go down 1,000 points. And then you can say, here's my struggle.
Can I hear that noise again?
Gobble, gobble,
okay.
That. And like, oh, now we can sit with the real human, vulnerable side of each other's concerns. And we're on the same team. And what if we can navigate this together?
Well, and I always suggest, if you do find yourself at an impasse, let's say that you really do decide, based on all stuff that we don't know from this particular letter, if you decide that this is not something that you really want to support, you feel like this ex is taking advantage, you feel like this is not a healthy relationship, this is not something you want to like engross yourself in, and that there are boundaries in place that are actually healthy and you've already determined those. If you do end up at an impasse, a therapist can be a really great mediator to help you kind of navigate some of that. I think these are, is this a deal breaker? Is it not a deal breaker? You have to decide that. I don't think it is, based on how you talk about it. I really think that the goal would be to talk about it much more adaptively and respectfully and lovingly, and give each other the benefit of the doubt that you want the same outcome, and that's to come to some consensus. But, it goes back to the 4 C's. You once you establish a relationship, communicate your wants, needs, feelings, thoughts, and hopefully you can navigate with some sort of compromise and move forward with some agreement, so you don't have to be concerned anymore.
And in terms of like the deal breakers, so if you guys were coming in to see me in therapy, the red flags I would see, it's not what is happening with the money and wanting to take care of the ex. The red flags for me would be the way that you two are communicating your feelings and needs and dismissing and negating the other person's feelings and needs, so that you're really sort of attacking and unkind rather than, I see your concerns. Can we find a happy medium?
Yeah.
So the deal breaker might be the letting go of the rope and being like, well, fuck you, rather than coming together. But that's why it's like, once you're aware, that's half the battle. What if that's the only problem in your relationship?
Yep.
Is the way that you communicate feelings and needs.
So really, at the end of the day, I don't think you're being unreasonable. That was your ultimate question. I think you're not communicating in an effective way, and I hope that you do, and I hope that he responds effectively as well.
Yes.
And recognize that sometimes when we come after people, it evokes that sort of reactive, defensive response.
Almost always.
Yes. And I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to. So I just think there's a point, though, that if you can do that and he can respond, which is more likely if you come at him directly and calmly and say, you know what, I'm feeling really unresolved on this issue. Can we talk about it to make sure we're both in agreement about how to proceed?
And I feel like you need to clarify that you don't see him as being like a bad person making bad unilateral decisions.
That's correct.
But that you honor his generosity and his caring nature. But this is the concern.
Good
Thank
Good luck.
you so much for writing in. I know this was a tough one. I loved both of our
I loved both of them too.
mailbags.
They're very different mailbags. We usually have a theme. I love that we didn't, and
Surprise!
I love that. I'm totally good, and I think we need to do more of this because I kind of love not knowing as well. Like I didn't know this dynamic. I didn't.
No, we always talked about the whole Iron Chef feeling.
Yeah, I
of
like that much
Let me
better.
throw this vignette at you. And
Because that's
tell me
how
what you think.
therapy works. Like people come in and we don't
It
know what's
is.
going to happen.
And
We
that's
don't know
the
what they're gonna
best
tell
part.
us.
It's like you're solving a puzzle as people are throwing just one piece at a time.
Which is also probably why I got into my mode. Like I get into this zone of like just digesting all the information and taking it in this kind of meditative way. Anyway,
Yes. And I get really distracted by
know.
you gazing off into the
I'm just going
sunset.
to, yep.
Friends, if you liked today's episode, our chaos, our mailbags,
Let's call it chaos.
our peanut gallery of brilliant men on the street. Okay, they're not actually
they
men on the
brilliant?
street. Are they street men?
You know
I'm
what's
not
so weird
sure.
about this? Like I always talk about my inner circle. You've met 3 of them today, folks. Jeff and Josh, who were on before, are part of my inner circle of friends.
Yes. Do you know that Doug, the show Entourage was actually created around Doug because everywhere Doug goes, he's got like at least 8 people. So I'm like,
I have the best people in my life. I love all of you.
and I will never understand how your people enjoy just showing up while we're shooting. Like these are unpaid.
Did you say you don't
loving
understand?
No.
Have you seen me? Have you
Yes.
have you hung out with me? Do you not
Uh-huh.
know why they would want as much time that they could possibly get?
I'm still
And
confused.
I'm hoping that they listen to this because
They're
I
probably
know
listening through the
especially
door.
Josh will say something like, shut the fuck up, Doug.
Fuck you, Doug.
Since he's already already written that to me
That's
on a
what
text
love sounds
during the
like.
episode. So
Friends, if you liked today, like us, subscribe. We are on all of the platforms. If you wrote a little funny, quirky, or real, just plain, they rock, give us 5 stars. Write in.
I didn't even hear what you said. I thought you said day rock, and I'm like, but you said they rock.
They rock. How are they so smart, handsome, gorgeous, and brilliant at the same time? And funny.
Oof.
No, too much.
I'm usually the confident one.
And if you send me screenshots on Insta, Dr. Talia Jackson, if you send me a screenshot of your comment, I will post it to all of our people and I will shout you out as being my new favorite listener.
I don't know how to do that. So
That's why I said me.
what's
me.
my Instagram?
Douglas L. Jensen with an EN. And we're also at We're Not Fine Pod.
Yeah.
And YouTube, you guys, you've got to check us out on YouTube.
Yeah, people are enjoying the YouTube more and more and more. While I was getting my tattoo and I talked about the podcast, people looked us up and this young woman was like, oh my God, that's you. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Well, yes, it is.
But when you were getting your tattoo, you were also shaking and crying and
I was not crying.
calling for your mama.
Nope. I was doing none of those things. I was cursing my friend who I thought was doing it purposefully to harm me because that would be
Really
something that
pushing
we would,
in that needle.
as you know him. Yes,
Yeah,
he
I do.
might do that to me just to poke a little bit. Like he came in here and he slapped my tattoo, which is fresh.
And then he laughed.
He thinks it's funny. Anyway,
We're
not fine.com. No, we
Yeah.
didn't finish.
Oh, we're not fine.com.
We're not fine.com. Please go there and please, if you have comments on today's episode,
Our long appointment.
a
We
long
gave
episode.
therapy.
If you have comments on today's episode, if you have questions that come of it, if you have other questions about your relationship or mental health issues or whatever it is, we are delighted to have those questions sent our way. So we're not fine.com. There's a place right to put all your information down and write your question out.
I love it.
I know, me too. We're not fine, but
But at least I have a Roman-ish nose and Doug has a drown in the shower German nose. Bye, guys!